Hey friends, this is Marilyn. I'm so sorry. I'm going to be giggling this whole morning, this whole video. Now, it's not because I'm feeling smug. It's just because I really almost can't believe it. you know, uh, there was a blue tsunami. That's every category that a Democrat was up. I believe they won every single category, every single location where there was an election, the blue won. And not by a little. And particularly happy because my state was one of those states that chose blue in the double digits. Now, I wasn't so sure. I've lived in New Jersey for 38 years. There was 1 year that I left the state, but I really lived here, but I left the state. But I've lived here for 38 years. And so Jersey is my home, and it's been good to me. And we've lived through, obviously, some Republican governors. It's not that we haven't. And never really thought too much about it, other than they're a little tight or whatever. But I never really worried about them because we had a system in place that would keep them in check, even if they passed unpopular bills, or even if they did things that were unpopular or supported unpopular bills. But, this time around, I was really beginning to sweat it because of, obviously, we have a regime that doesn't concern itself with law and order and checks and balances. And even with having had some Republican governors along the way, it's not like it's only ever had Democratic governors. It just really was a Democratic state. We considered ourselves a Democratic state, Now, I've lived here. This will be, going into January will be the third year that we've lived here. So in January, we would have lived here for 3 years. And we've never voted on a state level before for governor. We've only, we did the presidential election, but we never voted for a governor since we've been here. And I sweated out, man. I sweated out. I did a read I did it yesterday morning. I did it probably around 11 or 12 in the morning, but it was too late for it to be my morning video. So I didn't want to bombard you guys with videos all day long. So I figured, well, I'll postpone it until maybe 5 or 6 in the evening because I just want to give them a couple of hours to breathe. But I didn't want it to go too far into the evening because I wanted anybody who might have seen it last minute who was on the fence about voting to have time to go vote, So I think I released it around 5 or 6, I think. I'm not sure when I released it. And it was tentative. I said that I thought, the blue governor would do it. And if she did do it, she knew what the assignment was and that she clearly understood the mission. But I guess because she never made a presence down here in the South, we would have gone out to see her if she ever came down here. See? So as far as I'm aware, she never came to the southern end of the state. So she wasn't really talking to us, And so I was kind of feeling like I'm supporting her, but I'm not feeling her. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not feeling her in the sense of I'm not really sure everything that she's about other than what I see on TV, and that wasn't very strong. I did send her my opinion, though. I wrote to her, and I never heard back. But maybe she heard, me and others. But she won by double digits, man. Got to give that to her. And so I'm really happy about that. I think a lot of people maybe who didn't know so much about her, just maybe, and maybe in other cases, as long as it's not red, we're voting it, because we know what red means. Red doesn't mean what it maybe used to mean. It doesn't really mean what it used to mean. Whatever it used to mean, it doesn't mean that now. And anything other than that is what a lot of people want. Now, Virginia, same thing. A woman, first woman. And of course, Mondami in New York as mayor. Now, in either case, New York wouldn't have had a red mayor, because even though Cuomo was independent, they wouldn't have ended up being red. So I didn't worry so much about New York, because it wouldn't have been red. It wouldn't have turned red in either case. But I was worried about us. And I'm real happy that Virginia also. And they're women. They're women. Oh my God. Finally, Now, New Jersey has had one other female governor. She was Republican. I won't sing her praises and glories, but this is the first Democratic female in New Jersey. Now, as we were watching the map last night, and watching the election results and stuff like that, and we kept our fingers crossed. I would not go to bed until I knew who won. I was like, I am not going to bed until I know who won this election. And the place where my husband and I protested, deep red, and I knew it because we got a lot of fingers and a lot of exhaust fumes on the road and stuff like that. Really hostile environment. But that's why you got to go to those places, because if somebody down there is, in a place like that is on the fence, maybe it's helpful for them to see that, you know what, you don't own this. There's a lot of other people here who don't feel the same as you, and maybe they'll pick something up that they wouldn't have thought of. And that's why we feel it's important to go to the really red locations. But they still voted red. But my county was blue. My county voted blue. And now it wasn't by leaps and bounds. It wasn't by 2 digits that my county voted blue. But it was, I think, 4 to 6 points, which is a win. So needless to say, it's a good day here. And it was a blue tsunami. I mean, come on, you can put any spin you want on it, but it was a blue tsunami, man. Now, we have to keep that momentum for 2026 elections, man. We have to. Anybody, we can't rest any laurels on this at all. This is just the beginning. But hopefully it will give people incentive and hope that they can make a difference moving forward, because this was scary. This was scary territory, because I didn't know if we could pull it off. And even if the cards suggested, I looked at my reading afterwards and was like, oh my God, Marilyn, what do you need? The cards were hitting you over the head that it was going to be a big win for us, But I was scared. My bias was terrifying. And I felt like I was taking a leap of faith and saying, I think we got it. I think we do. But I was terrified, So maybe this will have given many other people for 2026 the hope that it's not lost and that there's a chance. But we have to show up. We have got to show up. So for 2026 elections, if you're watching this and you're in the States, you got to show up. Do what it takes to make sure that you're registered to vote in 2026. Okay. 9 minutes in. Okay, I have no idea what I'm going to do a reading on. None. I just knew I had to make an appearance. And the video that I had, you might have noticed that I had a video scheduled for a premiere for this morning at 11 o'clock. I just boosted that up to like 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time this evening because I had to preempt it. I had to preempt it if for no other reason, just to say, yay! wanted to mention something else. The irony about that red pocket where my husband and I protested, they're not rich. They are not wealthy. In fact, it's probably one of the poorest counties in New Jersey. So they are so not enlightened, that they're voting against their best interests, man. They're not a there's no money down there. None. So, well, it's not down below me. It's more west. But there's no money there. So they voted against their best interests. So they may be a lost cause. But you know what? Every little bit counts. And so if there's another protest, I'll probably go back to that area. I mean, it's easy to go where they're already there's no, you're the majority. So you're not really persuading too many people. You got to go where you're not there. You've got to go where you got to go into enemy territory, man. I mean, I don't call it enemy, but you got to go where you want to make change. That's where the change has to be. It has to be in a pocket of red. That's where you got to go. It's easy to be among people who are just like you, but you got to go where they're not, because you just don't know if you can make a difference. We didn't make much of one, but maybe we made some. So it might be a bit too early to try to feel the vibrations or whatever. At the moment, I think the vibrations are probably pretty high for 2026. So the cards themselves, or the frequency that I might pick up on, might already be tainted with bias, because the energy being received is a tsunami. So I always feel it's better to do a read on how something might turn out as close to the moment that you can, because that's when you really catch how I personally feel is where, maybe we can catch a more genuine sense. But I can't resist. The Pope. So I want to ask for the 2026 elections, how will that go? And going into it, I know that the vibration, the frequency that I'm receiving will be high, because we're in a very high state at the moment, right? But when the dust settles, I have put it to the universe, when the dust settles from this, and as well as we can hope, what must we do to ensure a 2026 tsunami? And just like this one. And I'd like to have some insight as to whether or not we'll pull it off. And for this reading, I'll be using the Spanish Tarot by Fournier. Hope. Oh, what a fortuitous first card. What a fortuitous first card. And as I said, it probably has to do a lot with the frequency at the moment. Look at that. It's on the pack. The frequency at the moment is high, right? Get her done. New beginning. Showing what you're made of. It's not the the fortitude card, but it's just like, keep the momentum going. Keep it going. We have 5 cups. It's, not a given. It's not granted. It's instability of emotions, because emotions are really high. It's kind of like a civil war in a sense. I mean, I don't want to downplay what a civil war is, but it's definitely It's broken families up for sure. It's broken, not my family, because everybody in my family who, is in my inner circle, we're cut from the same cloth, I have some extended family members who I see at funerals, who are red. It's just because they're rich and they've really lost their way. But I don't want to call out my husband's family, but pretty much to say there's only two of them, my husband and his son. Okay, so we have the female pope. Well, we've been seeing women power all along. I mean, I have anyway. I say we, I mean like you and I, but I'm the one who's pulling the cards, right? So in my reads, we've been seeing a lot of feminine power. And if you recall, and it didn't get much traction, in November, I think it was around Halloween. It might have been Halloween. I did a reading asking about November, just November. What's November going to be like? And if you recall, the 34 of you who saw that video and watched that reading, and I really regret that it didn't get much traction. I don't think I made it for members only. I think it was for the public. But it was a November read, and it was beautiful. It said it was going to be a great month. And there were two women who figured prominently. We had the female pope, and then we had the empress. Now, I misunderstood the empress because she was dressed in red. And I was thinking, maybe there's going to be a red female who's going to give the female pope. I think I used the Tarot of the Witches for that reading, who was giving the female pope, maybe a run for her money, And I did say there was, November will figure two Titanic women. And I thought maybe one of them might have been red because she was wearing a red dress. Well, son of a gun. Last night when we were watching the election results come in, and the governor, the Virginia governor, was wearing a bright red dress. And I said to my husband, if she's a Democrat, why the hell is she wearing red? We were laughing about it. And then I immediately thought she was the red woman in my reading for November. Two Titanic women, one in red and one for blue. And wasn't Mikey Sherrill wearing blue? It's crazy. So one was wearing red and one was wearing blue, but they were both for the blue team. So amen. Okay, front and center of the core nine. The king of money. So this is the crux of the situation. Is not just him, but his regime and oligarchs in general, right? This is what we have to overcome. Can feminine wiles, can we overcome this? This is what's front and center of the core nine. And he's looking to his minions to do his bidding. Nothing new. But his minions are of a low stature. Okay, so with this row, we have the sun. So we have the star, the female pope, and the sun. That's real good energy there. Real good energy. We have the two women again. So maybe the 2026 elections will be about women coming into power, putting their foot down. Maybe all those women cards that I've been pulling since 2023 will come to fruition in 2026. We're seeing it start. These two women made an appearance for November. This one was wearing red and this one was wearing blue. For their speeches, their when they win, they come out and they speak. I forget what that's called. The last card of the core nine. What have we here? Okay, so we have 2 pages. And this one is more, more intuitive, more empathetic. This one is more practical minded. This one is more associated with him. This one is more associated with her. He is appealing to his minions, right? They have a relationship here, and the Empress has one with her minions too. So maybe 2026 will be the year of the woman. Maybe. We have a really good start right now. Okay, let me pull the Quint cards for those of you who aren't familiar with my signature spread. There's a video, several videos down if you want to look in my list of videos that says tutorial for my signature spread. So if you want to know how I do this spread and how I come up with the Quint cards, that's where you'll find it, but I'm not going to go into it. I don't go into it for every read. Okay, so the very interesting thing about this spread is that the two cards that are repeated are the two women. To do the Quint cards, I had to take from the Tarot Classic deck from the 70s. So, okay, now, this is kind of blowing my mind in a little way, so I just kind of want to speak with some caution. These two women who figure prominently right now, who figured in my November read back in around Halloween, figure prominently here, right? A knee-jerk reaction. They all fall on this line with the exception of her, who is underneath him. So they're all in line, not in line with, but they're all, the energy is because of this. So it's like a knee-jerk response, right? These women, these four women, right? The two women repeated, but there are four of them, all outrank this guy and his power. They all outrank him. Now, I don't know if I'm picking up the energy of right now, the vibration that's happening right now. I could be picking up on that vibration because I think probably they had a lot of momentum for them. They probably had women voting for them and men voting for them because they don't want him. And this was a great opportunity for these women. I mean, they could, the states could have voted a man. Could have. It would have been, conservative of them, but they didn't. They didn't. They voted for women. So maybe I'm catching the wave that we're in right now. That's possible. But the question was for 2026, and we're not that far from 2026. And so perhaps this is the beginning, and maybe this is the hope and incentive to just move forward and keep going. It's going to be tricky. It's going to be tricky. Oh, Lord have mercy. It might be tricky, And there could be some risks. Certainly. Because, you see, he has his minions, and our women, or this particular woman, has hers. And this could just be representing feminine power. She's got hers. Wow, this is very interesting. Now, I wouldn't be so bold as to suggest that, because I only asked about 2026. I didn't ask for about 2028 or anything like that. So this wouldn't, and this had nothing to do with, like the presidential race for 2028. But it could be pointing in that direction. It could be pointing in that direction because we have the sun, we have the Empress who has more power than anyone here. She's got her people, and her people go out and do it. I mean, kind of very similarly dressed. The only difference between them is that he's wearing a cinch around his waist, and his cup now has become a satchel. Now, this card traditionally represents risk, being outside of the norm, But isn't a woman president outside of the norm? Women leaders in this particular country is outside of the norm. So in the context of this question, this is an individual who's outside of the norm. It's a woman. So I'm seeing these two as the same because they're very similar. Wow. And there's, unstable stuff going on emotionally. And then we have the trickster, or we have the con, or we have some deception. But I guess that's what politics kind of is. You have to know when to hold them and know when to fold them, right? And you have to know when to walk away and know when to run. I've been quoting songs lately. The other day I quoted songs when I was doing my video on, well, it turned out being a spontaneous conversation regarding how I see the cards, or how, my feelings about different styles of reading. I can only speak on my own, but I think that the video, or the reading, or the video actually began being a comparison of the court, or just discussing the court cards of the Athrisian, and then it turned into something completely different. I think it was for members only, but I will be releasing that for the rest of you guys, because it was, I think, probably too good not to share with everybody. But I was like quoting a song there. So this is like the week for me to quote songs. But it's just like, you have to know, sometimes you got to beat people at their own game. We have a strong beginning. We have to keep the momentum, and we have to maybe beat them at their own game. Maybe we have to beat them at their own game. One of the complaints I had, or one of the concerns that I had about Miss Cheryl for New Jersey, was because she wasn't representing down here where I live. There was a sense of maybe she's not that, she's too center, she's too much like this, But there has to be a certain amount of, we have to elevate our game a little bit. Maybe that'll happen. But the king here, the oligarchs, or the people with money, they bit off more than they can chew, because we have two women popes and an empress right below him. And we outrank him here. We outrank him for sure. And we have this feeding us. So 2026 is also looking good. But we have to keep that momentum going. We have to keep it going. That takes commitment. That requires us, right, to do what we got to do. His people are just looking at him and giving him, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, 3 bags full, right? They're just, this guy isn't doing anything. They're just like a mutual admiration society. But this guy, he listens to the empress, and then he goes out. He's going out. So that's like really exciting for me. And then ultimately, the quint card for the spread isn't a female pope. It's the empress, who's the most powerful of all, well, except with the exception of the other empress, of course, but she's the most powerful. So this 2026 could just be the year of the woman, gaining momentum. Like the buildup that I began to start reading about in like 2023, it's still building up, man. And as of today, we got a really good momentum, but we got to keep it going. As I said, this might be, I might just be picking up on the frequency and the vibration of what's out there at the moment. But we are close to 2026. We are close. So there's that. So what an auspicious spread for this morning. Until next time, friends, peace, stay well. Be brave, be kind, and don't lose focus. We got to do what we got to do. We got to do what we got to do. Peace, stay well, be brave, and be kind.